This is the first episode we're recording in 2022. And all three of us actually, our resolutions revolve around health. So we wanted to kick it off by doing a women's health series. And for our first episode, we're going to talk about periods. Uncomfortable yet?
Fun.
So ladies, I just wanted to ask, why do our bodies have periods?
It's because we reproduce. We are the ones, typically females or women, are the ones that are procreating.
Yeah. Gurpreet, anything you want to add to that?
Guess who can't? Joking. In order, every month since you're like, 12, 13, your body's gonna bleed to prepare you to have a child.
Some it's more, some it's like 10, age of 10.
Yeah, it's actually happening at younger and younger ages now, and a lot of it has to do with just environment or stress or food. They found that like hormones that are added to milk and different foods now, they're actually kicking it in even younger in girls. But yeah, you're absolutely right. Like, this is your body preparing for possible pregnancy, and that lining just builds up, and when your body realizes, hey, you're not pregnant, you don't need it, because if it doesn't come out, it can actually be dangerous for you. It just gets rid of it. But I wanted to ask this question because there's so much misinformation about what a period actually is, and the idea that it's dirty and you're just, like you should be shunned or whatever. These things still exist out there. So I just wanted to address, like, what is it? It's a natural thing, and actually none of us would be here if mammals and humans are part of that category didn't go through it.
So I remember you were talking earlier about this, like, different cultures and stuff. Like, I know here, obviously, like, we openly talk about periods and stuff.
Not all the time.
Yeah, I guess. But there is a lot of places where, like, if a woman has a period, she's, like, we're still expected to go to work and continue living our normal lives. Like, they're actually not?
Well, like we were talking about, I guess, thinking about our families or people we know that are in India, right? Like, sometimes there's just the idea that, okay, like, I'm on my monthly, as many people call it, because it happens once a month, self-explanatory, but like, oh, like, I just can't do anything, and like, I must stay in bed, like, I'm totally out of it. Like, there are people who actually go down that route too, but
it's because it's really unbearable at that point.
But yeah, a lot of people
don't understand that, right?
We were checking online.
Totally. And was it like, how many percent?
34, something like
32 to 40% of women and girls experience pain that's so extreme that they have to miss work or school.
That makes sense.
That's like almost half.
That's crazy.
People don't understand how much it hurts, but the thing is, we go through this because that's how we're made. It's not something that's dirty.
But I must say that because women get our periods, I am a firm believer that we have a higher tolerance for pain because we're so used to, like, every month your body's just aching and it's just normal.
Yeah.
So sometimes when we have these random aches and sores and all this stuff, we don't even pay attention because we're like, because we're so used to that.
Yeah.
And this is something we have to deal with every single month. And young girls, like, to hear that even our generation of girls couldn't go to their moms when they got their period, or if they went to their moms, like, they had to kind of like prepare themselves to tell them.
Well, we'll talk about that later, about our experiences on what we went through. I think we all each have a different one, so it'll be a different podcast for you to check out.
But there are a lot of stigmas around, like, just periods in different places. Like, we were looking at this article and it was like 29 periods around the world or something. We'll link it. But do you remember in Afghanistan, it said that basically women were being told that you shouldn't wash up during this time, like clean, because you can become unfertile. So if someone's telling you that this is going to happen to you, you won't be able to have kids, like, you won't be able to do any of that, and then you're not actually being hygienic about it, like, that's such a misconception, right? Like, yeah.
Well, I'm sure they were unhygienic. Like, I remember my grandma telling me in India, they used to take, like, old rags and then they'd, like, throw them in the fire and the kid, like, far away, and I was like, and men would just find these rags. Like, how weird is this?
Yeah, it's just like the idea of it that it's not holy, or it's not, I don't know, that just sounds wrong to me.
Yeah.
Right? So, and then I remember watching this movie by Akshay Kumar. I think it's
Padman.
Yeah.
I was just thinking about that.
So, how stigmatized it is, and especially, I guarantee it's in the villages back home.
It's still
for sure, 100%. Like it doesn't go away that fast.
I remember it was only about 4 or 5 years ago. I went to India. No, I think it was like about 6 years ago. And still then, like in the rural like villages, it wasn't common for people to like openly have pads like, you know, anywhere, right? So like you can get them from the store, but in the houses that it was in the bin, I was like, oh, they don't just keep them in the cupboard in the bathroom. Like it's very, I don't even know if they were using them. Like, and that's where I was like, what are you going to do, you know?
But you know, even Padman, I watched that movie and it was based on a real guy's story who saw what his wife was going through at this time during like her time of the month and everything. And he wanted to come up with a different solution. So he did. He ended up using cotton and he was trying to make so many different like pads and things for them to use.
And he helped out a lot of people.
But the problem he kept coming up against was no one wanted to test them out because it was so shameful to interact with a man about this topic.
Like he was anybody to be honest.
He's like, I'm making all this. Somebody try it. And the women were like, no, like we can't possibly take it from a man and try it.
A lot of their families told him not to, though.
And then people shunned him as well from society.
From the village. You're like, nope, get out, right? So,
but
check that movie out.
Yeah, it is a good movie. It's a good movie.
This is not a paid ad.
I don't watch indie movies, so maybe that'll be my...
Yeah, definitely check, because...
With subtitles and we're good.
Yeah. Then the idea that it's dirty, like, oh my god.
I think that's what is bothering us a lot. That's why we're talking about this.
I have a story about that, and it's about like my first time. Where
also, we're talking about it. Okay.
I think everyone kind of can relate to this. Like, when you're getting rid of, you know, whatever you used, like, I always felt like I had to pick up stuff from the trash can and then hide it underneath and then put the garbage back on top so like no one would see it. Or then I take toilet paper and I literally like clean the counters, wipe everything, like clean it, and then just put all the garbage on top. Because it was like, oh my god, like someone's gonna know and then they're gonna judge me. And it's just like, why did I feel like that? I was like 12 years old. Like that's, you know, it came from somewhere, but like why?
Totally.
Because it's never talked about, right? I don't even our parents. We'll talk about it in another episode, right? So we're gonna save that.
Yeah.
Because on where we felt it's not talked about, so that you kind of have to almost figure things out yourself. Yeah. Even though in grade 5, I remember we were having this. It doesn't prepare you. Okay, it's not the same. They don't fully prepare you for that, and then so some people don't get it or they're shifting. I remember you were saying you didn't.
So you're talking about like the education that the sex ed that you're supposed to get in school regarding all of these things, right?
Yeah.
And that's true. Like either you don't get it or you don't get it properly. And I think it's very few people that get a really comprehensive idea of what's going to happen, what you can do and all that, because we're both teachers and there is not any teaching program where they say, okay, this is how you teach sex ed.
Yeah.
But someone has to do it. And I think
even
it's sometimes
for me, I'm like,
she's giggling and she looks nervous because she's the one that has to do it probably.
In a few weeks,
But
it's
like,
hard.
you know, you don't have the training to do that properly, and then you feel so uncomfortable about it because
we have to be.
You need the support too.
Yeah.
It'd be nice if a group did it together and the kids feel supported too.
We have to be comfortable with it ourselves. I think that's what it is. That's why I keep telling myself, like, no, why am I doing this? There's a lot of it. It's like the internalized responses from other people, like from growing up, that I still feel like I have. Like, right? It's in a sense, it's a trauma, right? The trauma response. Trauma responses are many ways, and I feel like a lot of it, when it comes to periods, for me, it's like, oh, or like anything sex related is just so taboo, and it's like,
it takes you back to that place.
Yeah,
when you were a kid, and you're like,
no. It's like, how do you talk? No, we can't talk about this, or like, how do you talk about this with kids? But kids know too on their own, which is ridiculous. Sometimes I just want to block it off. I'm like, nope, but they do. Yeah. Right? But I think we should be also weary of like what is passed around and what is said, because there's a lot of misinformation.
Yeah, right? And it does leave a lasting impact. So the idea, like we were talking about how it's unholy, you said it's unholy a few times. Did anyone ever hear that maybe you can't go to the Gurdwara when you're on your period?
You know, is that weird? I didn't hear it for the Gurdwara, but I had a Hindu friend who used to tell me that, you know, there's a prayer at her house or something, but she's like, I can't attend because I'm on my period. And I was like, but the prayer is at your house. And she's like, oh no, I have to sit. I don't know if she said like in a separate room or just not be there because she was on her period. And I didn't know that was a thing. I'm sure it might be in our religion too, like that people do that maybe for themselves.
Not that I've heard of it.
I don't think it's like, I don't think you're not supposed to go. I think maybe for yourself you might feel dirty and not go. Like, you know.
But I've heard about it from a few like
other
people,
religions, right?
well, again, I don't know. Like
Yeah.
I can't remember now, but I've heard it from a few different groups of people that this has happened or like they've been through something like this, but maybe not now.
Yeah.
But maybe when they were younger, right? And
Yeah.
things, and sometimes families change too.
Yeah.
It's like, doesn't mean just because a lot of people in your, I don't think it's religion based, it's by like culture
I think
kind of
it's
do
cultural.
it. Yeah. So then they kind of carry that on, I guess, right? So
I heard it once
Or
when
the-
I was
the
younger,
cheer.
where it was the same thing as your
Yeah.
friend, but they're like, oh, like I'm not actually supposed to be here. Don't tell anyone I have my period because they said I'm not supposed to come. And I was like, that's a thing.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that's crazy because the whole idea of being like, you know, to go to
Yeah.
pray like the house of God, but God is everywhere. So like I don't understand how you can justify
100%.
not being able to go somewhere. I don't know.
I don't either.
And again, it's a natural human process. If we did not get our periods, we would not be able to really reproduce. Because pretty much
100%.
when our periods stop,
Yeah.
that means medically we're actually not fertile anymore. We can't have babies technically,
Totally.
right?
Totally.
So how is that a bad thing?
Yeah.
So you want to have kids, you want to make sure society progresses, but then you're shunning women when they have their periods. That does not make any sense whatsoever.
Do you think it's just because people are like, oh, this is gross, I don't want to think about it? Like, put it away, keep it hidden, I don't need to know about it. Yeah, it's
We do need
necessary, but, like, that's your business.
But we need to because every, like a week before my period and the week
No.
during, I am not the nicest person, not gonna lie. My anxiety goes through the roof and I get like more depressed and it's like, oh yeah.
But I think, Robin, that's the biggest thing is that our hormones change so much that
You can't hide it.
You can't. And I think that the more that people are just aware, like, she's getting her period, like, it's just so much easier to explain why sometimes you don't even know why you're acting
But
a certain
don't
way.
put a person down.
No,
oh,
no,
are
no.
you on your period now?
Exactly.
Are you why you're
No.
acting? Is that why you're no, that's not how it should be. Be like just more empathy that hey, this person's kind of going through pain and
Yeah.
not only that, their hormones are kind of out of whack a little bit. It's okay, just give them that space. You don't need to say anything. You just need to understand that.
Yeah, it's just about being a little more patient, I guess,
And
and
passionate.
understanding about
I
that
don't know.
time. Yeah.
Imagine
Really
how many
frustrating.
painkillers young kids are taking because of the pain and it's, you know, unbearable, and or birth control, like, you know, they're thrown on birth control to reduce the bleeding or the pain. Like, there's so many things that, you know, so much to talk about when it comes to periods, yet we don't have these open conversations about it.
Yeah, I had a friend in high school, and she was put on T3s, like by prescription, every single month because she was in so much pain. And T3s, like Tylenol 3, they're so strong. Like, they're actually so strong. And for like a teenage girl to be on that, and then she would miss school for almost the whole week.
Oh, dear.
Like, she was in pain, like agony. So it is something that I think, I know men, they can't experience it, so they don't know. But at the same time, like, just being a little more empathetic. Have you ever seen those machines?
I was gonna say that. I was just thinking that. I'm like
I
on
want to
YouTube.
try that on my husband.
Yeah, on
Oh.
YouTube, I've seen people like guys test the period machine
Yeah.
and they cannot take it.
It's like a level.
You
There's
should
like
definitely watch that.
there's like 5 levels or 10 levels or something, and it gets to like level 2.
Oh, dear.
And they're
And
like
they're in agony on the
"Ugh."
ground, like they can't handle it. And they're like, oh my god, turn it off, turn it off. So like, if we can get our hands on something like that would
We
be.
should look into
To walk around.
We should
and
look
test
into that. We
them.
should look into that.
Oh, my
Oh
God.
my god.
But I feel like now, you know, just like you guys are teachers, so I'm hoping, well, I know you are, obviously giving out the right message, but even for boys, like, they should be aware of what goes on. Sometimes I feel like when we were, from when I'm remembering sex ed, it was girls were separated from the boys, the girls had their own separate talk about periods, pads, whatever, and then boys have their own separate conversation. I don't know what
Because
they're
they're
talking
constantly
about, right?
giggling.
Yeah,
and like, they get a little bit immature. I get it. Like
But I wonder what, like, were they actually told that girls get their periods, they have hormones, that this happens? Like, I wonder if their stuff was actually, like, if they focused and targeted those things.
I don't think they talk in detail. I really don't think they do. I really don't.
So I try my best. Like, my son's almost 5 years old, and every time I'm getting my period or I have my period, he's very aware. He's like, "Oh, Mom, do you need a?" I forgot what he was calling, like, tampons and pads. And I was like, "Yeah, just go get it." Like, and now he just knows it. He knows, like, every month it's gonna happen, and I'm always like, you know, it happens to every woman, and you know, just so he's aware that growing up, like, this is gonna be a thing.
This is
and,
a normal
you know,
thing.
Like, if I'm gonna hide it from him, and then all of a sudden, you know, he's gonna have a girlfriend when he's older, and he's gonna be like, "What is that?" Like, no, he needs to know. This
And
is
don't
normal.
shun a girl, because I think a lot of, if a guy doesn't know and then he puts the girl down, it just doesn't make her feel good about it. Like, you're already going through this crazy process, especially as a teenager, right? And then on top of that, your boyfriend is just not understanding and putting you down. It just doesn't make you feel good.
Or not even just boyfriend, just like your friends.
Your friend,
boys in your class,
or
or people around you, right?
Anyone. I'm just
Yeah.
And I think over the years, like, it's so different because all through high school and stuff, like, if I had my period, I wouldn't openly be taking a tampon or a pad out to the bathroom. Like, you know, you hide them, right? But then now, like, that I've had a kid and I really just don't give a beep about anything. I remember, like, now before COVID, when I was at my desk at work, like, my tampon box was just sitting on my desk. My boss is like, "Oh," and I was like, yeah. And I just kind of, like, was like, what do you want me to do? I'm not gonna hide it. Like, I'm, you know, they're there. And it was so funny because they, at one point, they were, like, everywhere.
It's so
you know?
funny.
And I thought, like, you know, it's normal. And I was trying my best to just let people know this is normal. This is happening. Because why would I need to hide that? It was, you know, and then I think I'm hoping that by doing that, I was allowing other people not to hide it in their pockets or hide it when they're going to the bathroom.
Because again, then there's shame surrounding that. What you're doing, what you have is shameful, which again is not.
Yes.
And
not
I like
shameful.
that you did that, Gurpreet, because I feel like I also did that even with my class that I have now. I'll walk out openly with a tampon and I'll just be like, "Oh, I'm going to the bathroom, like, I'll be right back." And if anyone wants to ask what it is, I'll say
so happy to
But
hear that.
like, I also want to try something that I've seen online where teachers just have, like, this case and it's like, you need something, you take something. So it's like deodorant, because they're going through puberty, they need, you know, the normal Band-Aids, deodorant, tampons, pads, whatever. Like, and if it's there and the boys see it, that could just be a talking point too. Like, what is it?
What is it?
Normalize it. Right?
It should not be stigmatized the way it is.
I remember, like, when my brother was little, because we're 4 sisters and my mom, and so you know, he was going with my dad to pick up the grocery or something, and I remember him going, "Here's my diapers and here's my mom's diapers," and my dad was just like, "Okay," and, like, obviously he had to buy them, and now it's so normal in our house because there's so many girls that if it's needed, he'll just get it. Like, it's, and now my brother is also aware that this is a normal thing, and I'm so happy that that's, you know, the conversation in our house, because how can 4 girls plus some other 5 girls in a household hide that someone's got their period every week?
It could easily be.
Right?
And we're lucky that we live in Canada, a place where you can actually be open about this and, like, you have access to a lot of these things, because, like, I've been hearing for years, and the stories have not stopped actually, but, like, a lot of them come from Nepal, where there's this practice of when a woman is going through her period, they send her out to a menstruation hut. Doesn't matter if it's the middle of winter or whatever, bad weather. It can be miles away or it can be on the property. But they'll literally be like, "Oh, like, it's your time of the month, you need to leave."
What?
And I just Googled it before the show as well.
Nepal can get really cold.
And
that's where Mount Everest
literally,
is.
like, Nepal is, like,
Oh my God.
right by,
If
right
you
by
don't
the
know,
Himalayas.
but it's
But the top story was that it was a woman and her 2 kids that she had to take with her because they were young and they were breastfeeding. So all 3 of them ended up dying in this menstruation hut because it was cold. They had lit a fire and they died of smoke inhalation. And this was not the only case like that. Like, I just kept scrolling and it was like Nepal, death, menstruation hut, death, this and that. So it's like, we're lucky that it is still a bit stigmatized and, like, okay, a little hush hush, like, you don't have to tell everyone what you're going through.
definitely better.
But, like, there's some parts of the world where people are literally dying, and, like, it's like, kind of like a lottery. Like, are you gonna make it this time? Are you gonna, like, what's gonna happen?
So I think also when we start creating the change here, we can create it in the rest of the world as well. Because really, a lot of these countries, they're watching the Western world. If we don't figure out our problems, it's just gonna recreate there too. It creates havoc.
Well, like social media is a huge instigator for change. I think like everyone has a phone. You could be everyone in India has a phone. Like people begging on the streets have a phone.
Yeah, that's true.
So like
it's so inexpensive.
Talking about things, normalizing it, everyone gets that kind of free access to it. So it's like it is an education.
Totally.
Well, there's so much more to talk about. We have to wait for our other videos.
And we do, like we said, this is part of our series on women's health. Next time we do want to talk a little bit more about our own personal experiences with this. If you want to send us some questions, you're welcome to do that. And
write them below.
Follow us on Instagram at Korner. You can also follow us on Patreon and TikTok. Thanks for joining us.